details of a deal between the United Kingdom government and the DUP on import and export of goods have been revealed. If we've got a trade deal with the United States, that would be interesting. The Northern Ireland Secretary said the deal was right for the Union, but Sinn Féin says a united country is now within touching distance.
In the studio with us, Sun columnist Trevor Kavanagh. Trevor, welcome back to the programme. What do you make of the deal?
Well, I hope it works, and it looks like it might. There seems to be a lot of support for it, and what we need is to get back on an even keel with the governance of Northern Ireland, which has suffered enormously from 2 years of total neglect. Nothing's happened administratively in Northern Ireland in that period of time. Workers are still not getting the pay rises that they would expect, and there's been basically total stagnation of public operations.
Alicia Fitzgerald earlier told us that Bertie Ahern said that this new administration power-sharing agreement would have a honeymoon period of about 24 hours. So how much business as usual will we get before the politicking starts?
Well, I think that sort of statement is business as usual in Northern Ireland, frankly. I mean, it's a very tough environment. There's a constant battle where no ground is given, no quarter is given by one side against the other. So they're always looking for the weak spots to attack, and what we need most of all is to just simply return to a civilised form of government and to get the terms of Brexit up and running, because this was one of the key obstacles right throughout. The protocol was always an obstacle to the smooth running of Brexit. Once that's out of the way, if we can get Northern Ireland properly governed again, I think we can start making progress on this.
Trevor, can we talk about police? We've just been live in Clapham in South London, that horrific incident. The police there have actually been really praised for a very swift response from residents, local councillors. James Cleverly sort of reworked the government's approach to policing yesterday. He said, get back to basics. I need evidence that you're treating neighbourhood policing as an absolute priority. And he's saying we're going to not criticise the police, we're going to prioritise them. What do you think of the plan?
I think we should criticise the police. And I think the police should start reacting to that criticism and start actually doing the job they're supposed to do.
In the same way Suella Braverman did?
Well, I think that the problem with the police is that they tend to follow the rules of the culture wars too much. They're observing the niceties of public conduct when things like this are going on right before their eyes and before the eyes of the general public. People are not stupid, and they can see this, and they're horrified at that sort of operation. Not that could easily be anticipated, and I'm sure on this occasion the police were there very, very swiftly and dealt with it well. But what we've got in London and in other major cities is knife crime and all sorts of public offences, which are, they can be dealt with if the police want to, and if they do stop and search and other measures which are designed and are on the statute books for them to use in their weaponry against crime, they could do so.
But is there an issue here that Bobby's on the beat, whilst it may be reassuring for the public, and that counts for an awful lot? Does that actually help solve crime? Because you're putting resources into people walking around reassuring people rather than catching baddies.
Well, I think that the visibility factor is important. I think when you walk around London, the inner cities of London, where all the police stations are closed, the magistrates' courts have all been turned into hotels, and the feeling of neglect of law and order is almost palpable. You do not see police. In Australia, for instance, traffic police are present all the time. In fact, they're a complete menace, but they are there and they are visible. So in other words, if someone carries out a crime like this, there are traffic police ready to, and they're proper policemen. They're not like the
traffic wardens.
Do you think optics are important in terms of how that actually alters behaviour?
I think it does. And I think it needs to be known that whenever you're likely to commit a crime, you're likely to be caught and punished, and that isn't the case at the moment.
I just want to ask you briefly, the Justice Minister, Mike Freer, told the Prime Minister yesterday at the next election he'll be standing down, and the reason he's done that is he says that what he's been dealing with over the last few years, death threats, police telling him when he goes out to meet his constituents he should wear a stab vest, some of this to do with, I think, some of his views about Israel and the constituency that he's in, but it is appalling if someone says, I don't actually feel safe enough to be an MP in my constituency.
No, and I think this is a feeling right throughout the Commons. A lot of MPs, after the death of two of their colleagues from constituents attacking them in the streets or in their office, I think that they have grounds for feeling concerned. And the feelings that are being stirred up in Gaza and the Middle East are manifesting themselves on the streets of London as we speak in a way which I think is really seriously alarming, and I think is going to get worse, not better. So, you know, I can't blame him, but you know, it's a terrible thing when you have a democratically elected MP driven out of the job.
And that is his story, front page of the Mail today. Trevor, thank you so much. Really appreciate, as ever, having you in the studio.